Back in the day. Oh my gosh.
Hello, brother.
And Vito in the area. But I didn't know about MV when I was at the Reno. It came years later. Love and light as above, souls below. You want?
We're on.
Right. Hi everyone.
Hello, Alfonso, man. Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's my honour, privilege and duty to be part of this. And I must say to the viewers out there, and especially the people that was part of the Reno, and their children and grandchildren, that thank God for Linda Brogan and bringing this to the highlight, because without Linda's input with all this, things will get forgotten about. One of the things that I really regret is not doing a simple little thing like this with our mother, because the wealth of stories that she had to tell us, our mother has been lost, like a lot of our family members and everything else. So before we start then, yeah, I must say to you, well done. And also, when Steve Cotty mentioned to me about Larty done his interview, and with Persian as well, was it?
Yeah.
I said, right, I want to meet Larty, because it's down to Larty, I'll tell you about in a minute, of me getting into the Reno so young. And then when I mentioned to Steve Cotty that I wanted to see Larty, he said, no problem. A fucking week later, excuse my language.
No, don't excuse your
a week later, he's died.
I know.
I was wounded. I was properly wounded. So Sue.
Frank's the one that's wounded me as well, man.
Yeah, but I'm not being ignorant and disrespectful. Frank had a really colourful interest in life. How are fathers and like grandfathers and like Larty?
Yeah.
Frank's dad, I don't think anybody met. You understand what I mean? Apart from Frank's family and all that. Frank was like one of us, but our elder when we was growing up. But it's like our fathers and uncles, the Africans and Jamaicans, that set the standard all over the country for the way a lot of us have turned out, the positive ones. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I'm not being disrespectful in any way, shape or form to Frank. Yes, I know Frank's passed away now and we should have got an interview with him. Yeah. But then people can tell the stories. For instance, now we're on a bit of a point about Frank, and I want to start with when I first went in the Reno. But Frank, when we were growing up and we were in different clubs and parties, because I was one of the main dancers in the city, I mean proper dancer, and competitions and all sorts of stuff. Okay. When we'd have what we would call a standoff or we just have a standoff dancing. Flipper, is it Flipper who used to throw the Yankee on the floor? Flapper. Flapper, right. Yeah. So there's a few people that we used to challenge each other to dancing. And my mates, if I went in the middle, they'd say, come on, Fons, fucking get up there. And then they'd say, well, make sure you do a backflip, because I was quite famous around the city for doing backflips. So now and again, if I was dancing and Frank stood up, if me and him had a dance now and again, we'd be laughing our bollocks off, laughing and dancing. But if it was ever kind of dance off and all that, I'm not joking. I'd be bowing down, right, Frank, big man, go on. And I'd watch Frank in awe, because not just his moves, his facial expressions and the way he would dance was like, fucking
no, he proper got into it, man.
And for the big guy as well.
Yeah.
So Frank, it's mad. But then taking the emphasis to our fathers, not even our mothers at this stage, our fathers, Frank's dad, my dad, and all our fathers, they set the standards, because a lot of our fathers and elders, they didn't deal in drugs or anything bent. They were, as far as I knew, they were straight members. My dad was. Yeah, well, most of them was mine, but they were straight members. Even if they had a little smoke or whatever else, they never got involved in kind of not skullduggery or juggling such. They didn't. Right, so, let me just have a thought a minute, right? I'm going to try not forget what I was saying and go off 1 point onto 5 points. I'm going to try not say anything untoward, but I must be brutally honest with the viewers and especially the people from our city and outside. And before I start, I must say that Liverpool, especially Kirkland's and our Liverpool family, thank you so much. When I was 10, 11 and 12 and Liverpool family was coming over, Clark, Clarky, just thinking of Clarky and our fucking mad lecky. Oh my God. But Clarky, God bless him, because the Melvin Haddad told me that Clarky passed not long ago. Melvin told me Clarky was just so mean. But anyway, to our Liverpool family that came to Manchester, it was mad because when I was 10 and 11, Linda, and then I got told that there was mixed race, like us in Liverpool. I couldn't believe it. I thought,
I remember that myself.
I was thinking this at 10 and 11. I've got to go to Liverpool to meet these birds and geezers who were our age, and they mixed raced. Because the only thing we got from mixed race on the TV was the Jackson 5. And that was America, and obviously. So I must thank, I know, like Leeds, Nottingham, Cardiff, Birmingham, not going towards south, but obviously there. I mean, the northern cultural black mixed race areas that I have to take my hat off to say thank you, because all them areas I went to as I first went to the Reno. And believe it or not, some people will find it hard to believe. This is one of the reasons I want to speak to Lati as well. When I was 11, before I was 12, and me and Willis, that's Lenny Willis, built up the courage to go and walk to the Reno door.
Wow.
And Artie and Jinx, God bless his spirit, Jinx, and Rita, because Rita's in Withington at the Orion pub. They kind of had a debate in front of me and Willis for about 3 minutes, because we was there saying we want to come in at the Reno. And they had a debate. He went, 1 minute, and they had a debate, and then all sudden, I said, come here, why? And I went, what? He went, you know your father's in there, innit? Because he asked me, when I got there, he says to me, what's your name? He said, who are you? So I just said, Buller. I said, all right. So then, in 1 minute, spoke to Jinx, and he said, £1 each to me and Willis. We were 12. And then, the door opened, and as we opened the door, we looked down the stairs, and then all of a sudden, oh wow. And then as we looked up, looked the door on, we seen this Asian geezer stood next. They used to have a speaker about that big.
Yeah.
Right? And there was a little ledge along the side of each side of the Reno. There's a little ledge. Yeah. Then a speaker. And then the stairs to go down. And Jinx used to stand at the side of Light, and Light was in a little cubicle at the door. So the door opened, and we looked downstairs, and we looked up. There was an Asian geezer sat next to the fucking speaker. Excuse my language, sorry.
Don't keep saying sorry, man.
I know, but these people that offended the language. So,
let them be offended.
So,
there's an Asian geezer.
So, we can see he's the same age as us. We can see he's our age.
Oh, man.
So we just said hello, like me and Willis, and we went in there. Fucking amazing. Because there was no kids in there that age. There was no kids in there. It was like, there was a few other teenagey looking people at 14, 15, 16 or whatever. So anyway, we went to the bar, we asked for a Coca lemonade, we got Coca lemonade. Every single person in there now is looking at me and Willis like, you fucking idiot, fucking idiot. So, and what's strange, and I won't go off point too much, I was at our junior's dad's funeral, can't be about 4 years now, and our Cess came to the pub or somewhere where we was, and our Lanza was turned up as well. And I was saying to our Cess at what age me and Willis met him it.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't believe it. Our Cess, my brother said, you went in the Reno at 12. And I went, okay, bro, I'm not going to debate it with you. I didn't fucking dream it. I didn't imagine it. I'm telling everyone that's the viewers, when I first heard the word wild child, which is not to be wild, they were just kids growing up that needed to be out of their houses and partying and doing whatever they needed to be doing because they needed to flap the wings and be free as kids. I was one of them, not a wild child. I was a child that was out amongst the moon and the stars at an really early age.
Yeah.
So, Cess tried to tell me I didn't meet him when I was 12. Well, I did, with Willis. So then we've got in the Reno, and then when we've got in the Reno, we've come back. I've gone up to, I said to Willis,
was your dad in there?
Yeah, well, I'll get to that.
Yeah, all right.
So I said to Willis, come on, I want to go and ask that geezer at the door. if we can stand with that Asian guy. I said, come on, let's go and speak with that Asian guy. He's our age. He's only a kid in there, our age. And he went in there, he was at the fucking door. So we've gone up to that and I said, excuse me, is it all right for us to stand with him over there and chat with him? And I went, looked at Jinx and he went, go on then. So next thing you know, every time we went in the Reno from that day, we was upstairs with Himmett, me, Willis and Himmett. That was our spot. And that's where we spent a lot of our time for the first 2 years at least. And you know what was fucking heavy as fuck? Watching and observing like students. Can you imagine? Yeah. We were there watching people coming and going.
Wow.
And it was a storybook on its own, that on its own. Watching people coming and going as young kids. So right now I've got that out of the way. I have to flip to a couple of things in my life that affected me in the Reno and around the Reno. And at a young age.
Before you move on, tell me like when you was observing them coming down.
Oh yeah.
Right, tell me a couple of things you observed. Tell me like what really sticks out to you.
Well, it's funny because when you see doormen saying to people you've had too much to drink and all this and you can't come in here, we'd be laughing. It was like a film. I'm not joking. We'd be laughing our bollocks off. We'd be laughing our heads off. And it was like people we know, people we didn't know, and someone would be coming, we'd be commenting on all those that was extremely smart, especially the pimps. Oh, wow. It was like stepping into America or one of these movies now and like that. Okay. And some of them coming in with 2-3 birds on their arms as well. I mean, not like anything like today. So some of the things that was absolutely mind-blowing were seeing the way you got these profile people coming to my side to the Reno, because the Reno, and I've said this before, was like a magnet to all sorts of people, especially people who was like creative. Yeah. If you was in the sports world and you was a bit of a pie person, if you was in the music industry, if you was in the acting industry, the drama industry, the fashion industry, any of these industries, and everybody that was wanted to let their hair down or listen to any kind of music, the Reno was our mecca, and they came from all over. So observing the people coming in out the Reno and laughing our bollocks off and having it like an education was like an eye-opener, and it'll stay with me forevermore.
Wow, 3 little kids just watching all these profile people and all these Mossad people.
And then sometimes if we didn't want to go to the cafe, because the Reno cafe was extremely popular. Yeah. The cafe, you could go and sit down and have a meal in the cafe, the Reno. Yeah. And every now and again, if we was hungry, a package and Shorty's next door, the patty shop, Shorty's, was open and not closing. We'd go and sit and chat to Shorty for half an hour, easy. Yeah. So then the night we got in the Reno, first night we got in the Reno, we'd gone in, and Lighty said to me, your dad's in there. I said, where is he? He said, he's in the gambling room. And that was before the 2 pool tables come, like people say they had a snooker table in there. I think they had a snooker table, then a pool table. Can't remember too much about that because I didn't play snooker. But anyway, I popped my head in. I didn't know what I was looking at, whatever. I was going in the gambling room to see where my dad might be. So I've gone in this room, what was the gambling room. I've gone in, I've looked round where the pool tables are, and there's a few people there. I thought, my dad's not there. And as I turned around and looking at this, he had like a big table, and it was like for cards and mainly for dice. So when they throw the dice on this table, it had sides where the dice wouldn't roll off the. So I put my head in and looked round, and I'm looking around this table with all these black geezers and Jamaicans and Africans around this table playing dice or cards. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I can't see me dad. And all of a sudden, the fucking geezer stood right there with his back to me, and I'm looking at his clothes, and I'm like, fuck, I just fucking turned around and said, come on, your dad's in there, let's not go in. So that Lighty let us stand upstairs. One of the things that stands out as well in the Reno was, I was upstairs one day on my own, and Paul Cece had an argument, and I think it was Phil's relation, I can't remember his name, he was an African geezer.
Cola.
Cola! How cool was Cola? I mean, and he's taught really well.
Yeah, he did.
He taught absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So I'm at the top of the Reno stairs one night, chatting, all of a sudden, an argument broke out with Paul Cece and Cola. Oh my gosh. they've had a scuffle at the top of the stairs.
Nearly everybody tells the story of Cola.
I said, I couldn't believe it. Oh, fucking hell. God sees he's giving him a couple of digs and whatever, and Paul's actually with his back to them, and he's fucking giving him a dig or done something to him, and his feet are that took off the floor, and he's landed more or less. One bump in the middle of the stairs, he's landing on a heap at the bottom of the stairs. And I thought, oh my God. And he weren't really a fighter, he was a gentleman.
Yeah.
But he'd done something to upset Cece. And Paul's my good pal. So yeah, so that was that. That was one of the things that sticks out of my head. And another thing was I'm going to try not to get upset because I'm a bit of a softie inside. I looked up to a lot of people growing up before I was 16, 17. And one of them I looked up to was Chris Atto.
Oh, okay.
And Tex and Chris Atto had a to-do. And Chris had been to my mum's with Alonso because Steve Cotty, Alonso, Mike Maisie, Chris and Cooley were all pals.
Yeah.
They had like a mad clique, and perhaps there was another couple attached to that as well, but they're the main ones for him. Anyway, Chris was a knife man.
Right.
And he was a gentleman, but he was a knife man. If he'd fought with anybody, he'd fucking just pull his knife out and he was a blade man. And everybody knew it. Hence this story I'm going to tell you now, and I'll keep it short. So one night I'm at home, and Lanza comes home all fucking looking white and all sorts of shit, and you could see he had the blood drawing down him. And the family was like, "What's the matter now, kid? What's wrong? What's wrong?" He said, "Chris, I was fighting for life in hospital." Fuck me, why? Tex was only hit him with an axe in his head. I was wounded. That next day I went to see him and he was like unconscious. And it just reminds me of back in the racing days, much years later. Same thing with Mark Tucker. I'll mention that later on.
Yeah.
Really.
Also being hit in the head with an axe.
No, he fell off. When the flats at the bull ring was coming to an end, some student hippie top kids took over parts of the bull ring and turned them into raves.
Yeah.
One was called The Kitchen.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right, so, but that was, the Reno was still open by then.
Yeah.
And that was just part of years later before the Reno closed. What was the people we knew and part of the people we knew, because we were bringing so many people to the Reno from different genres of town that had never been introduced to it. They was like, they just fell in love with it straight away. So that story with Chris, yeah, it properly affected me to...
Lanza told the story the other day.
Because when I went to see him in hospital on my own,
yeah,
like Mark Tucker, because Mark got missing for 2-3 days, and his description and his was in the local paper, Manchester Daily News, and that's when people say to me, I think Mark Tucker was in hospital, they've got a description of someone's been found at the bottom of the bull rings. Anyway, similar to when I went to see, he had tubes everywhere, and he didn't look like he was going to pull through, and he had to operate on his brain and all sorts. He fell off the second floor, I think, or he got beaten by people. And anyway, so when I went to see Chris, it properly affected me, and he became all right, but he was never the same after it.
You reckon? Well,
no, because he had a serious blow to it. He became all right, but he weren't like he was. He weren't his 100% self. I won't say he was like 60 or 30. I'd say he was more like maybe 80 or 75% of himself. But it took a lot away from him, what he was, his charisma and his...
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that was that. And...
Tell me your favourite memory in the Reno.
Well, one of my favourite memories in the Reno was quite interesting because I was trying to remember. Alan Igbock, we know as Adge, is a famous Mancunian, Manchester's finest, as I post.
Yeah.
And I can't remember it. I'd been to Borstal. I got sent to Borstal when I was 17 by a miscarriage of justice. It was only till I heard miscarriage of justice that I realised that was common years later with the Birmingham Irish firm and other people who'd been released after so many years. So when I was 17, going to go for professional football trials, I used to play for a football team called Charlton Olympic, and most of the people that played for that team went on to play professional football.
Right.
Unfortunately for me, I got pulled in my side with Lanza, Junior Lindsay, Dennis Marr, and myself, 4 of us, by a young copper, and we ended up getting took to the Moss Side police station, beat up, charged with police assault, and less than a year and a half later, we all got sent to prison.
So you hadn't done anything?
No, we hadn't done anything. We've been at Moss Side Youth Club training, and a young copper pulled us. But you're asking me what some of my favourite memories are. This is one of them, because I'm thinking, I'd have been to Borstal, because they cut my hair off him, but I brought a couple of pictures to show the camera. But Linda's going to post them anyway. And one of the pictures when I went to Borstal was that. So when you see that picture, that's the locks I had. That was my locks before I went to Borstal. They're the locks they chopped off. So when I was 12 in the Reno, not long after that, through my sister Vilma, I started growing my locks. After 3 years, so I was 17 then.
Right.
And when I got sent to Borstal for something I didn't do, they cut my hair off. But there's a story to that, but I'm not going to do it because it's a bit long. So, we met one of my happy stories, which was one of the most fantastic things. I can't remember if they'd been to Borstal at this stage or it was after. But anyway, me, Junior, that one that you post that people will look at, that's me and my crew, our crew. Stephen Goff, Dennis Marr, our kid, Cess, and Junior Dread. So we think we were like some kids from Manchester and Liverpool. We don't know what was going on in London, but probably. We used to think we were professional thieves. We'd be dippers, which we call Giranis, and a zap. A Girani is a purse and a zap is a wallet. So we'd be going out, what we thought were like professional thieves, thieving and sneak thieving and all sorts back in the day, which it was. So anyway, when the police got us, and they said it was initially for handbag snatching in Moss Side, and we said, well, we've been training, there's our training bags, and I didn't want to know. Took us to Moss Side police station and beat us up. Then the next day, we went to court because we was on remand in the police cells. When we got to court, we didn't even know they said we'd been police assault. They said the 4 of us beat up a police officer, and this police officer that pulled us on Prince Strowman was going home. He was just straight out the academy, and he was on his own. And we just run away from him because we thought, fuck this. We got round the corner. It's like it was set up. There was a van and 2 detective cars. We run right into him anyway. Moss Side beat us up, charged us. We beating them up. We all got sent to prison and they cut my hair off. Terrible. Wow. Terrible. That I was 17. Went to Baltimore at 17. I had me 1850 in Borstal. Hindley, Borstal, Wigan. So, we've gone in the Reno. Us lot. Tony Burns. There's about 7 or 8 of us. And when we got to the bottom of the stairs at the Reno and on the doors, fuck me. Ray Winston with Adge. Ray Winston with Alan Ickbock, Adge. And we're like, oh my God. I think we would have seen it then. We would have seen it then. We'd seen the movie, but I can't remember if I went to Boston or not. And we wanted to buy him drinks, and we wanted to...
It's scumming it, the movie.
That's right, yeah. He brought the famous saying, where's your tool? And I'm the daddy.
Yeah.
So, also, you're talking about happy memories.
So what did you do with Ray Winston?
Just had a bit of a drink and smoke with him and a chat, and can you pass us that picture, please, Lee? Had a bit of a picture and a chat, and he was, funny enough, I met him about 3 years ago in Northington, he was doing something in Northington, and I told him. So anyway, you're talking about happy memories. There's so many happy memories you lost for...
Just say the first one that comes to your head.
Oh God.
Just say the first.
Dancing. One of the main things I will never forget and I will cherish forevermore is, and I'm fortunate to say this, dancing with my fucking mother in the Reno on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Mega. I must tell people, from 13, 14, going to nightclubs like Cloisters and Zooby-Doo, Centre Spot, around our area of Rusholme, when we went to the Irish youth clubs and stuff that started as progressing, like for instance, not the Snooty Fox, but over was the Royal Oak, Bernadette's. There were certain things that led us as teenagers being around other Mancunians from different areas that when you went to certain clubs then as kids, like Caroline's.
Yeah.
Or, because we were all, from all these clubs and parties, whatever, we'd all go back to the Reno.
Yeah.
It was going to all these things growing up, then it would always be, like I said, Reno was a focal point. So saying like, the good memories like that, my dad really wanted to answer, but the amount of times we'd be in the Reno with family and friends, and it was like it was the only us there because it was such a outstanding family unit.
Yeah, I know.
So
exactly what you
there's so many, Linda, there's so many really, really brilliant memories. It is really hard to, that's why I said I meant to write.
Try and describe the atmosphere.
Oh, don't, Linda.
No, go on, try. Just try.
People will think I'm a weirdo.
No, go on, tell me.
Right, okay then, let me just give you this for a start, and I'll try not go too heavily into it where it'll take ages, can keep it really sweet. Right, you're saying, to describe the atmosphere. I learnt my apprentice in the Reno. I used to get sick as a kid. Once it begun, because it's down to our Vilma, I started growing my locks, and it's down to our Vilma that introduced me to Rastafari and Dungy, and a couple of, like, Junior had an uncle, and he was one of the first Rastas in Manchester. I can't remember his name, we should have written it down, it's terrible that. And at my Uncle Lindsay's house, Fred Lindsay, this is where I met this Rasta. I must have been about 10 or 11 then. So when our Vilma said to me, you need to start growing your locks, because I couldn't stand the afro anyway.
Right.
So
is Vilma a Rasta?
No.
Oh, well, why
she just knew that the way I resembled Bob Marley,
right,
that I needed to follow some path of Rasta or go and look at Bob Marley's teachings.
Right.
She'd just seen something in him, like most people. When I started growing my locks, I got sick of people in Manchester calling me Bob Marley, Bob Marley, Bob Marley, Bob Marley. And all of a sudden I said, right, do us a favour, call me Twin Marley. Fuck me. So everywhere I went then, and people got used to my name, I was known as Twin Marley. But like, when you're saying about the memories, when we was kids growing up now, between 14 and 17 before I went to Borstal, we were already doing the town circuit. Especially the likes of me, Willis, Tony Burns Jr. and...
You're around the same age as me, aren't you?
It was my birthday last Saturday.
What year are you born?
61.
I know.
January 28.
Older.
So, like Kirkland's.
So come on, tell me, try and describe the atmosphere.
All right, so.
Yeah.
So, when you're in Reno and the DJs, let's just name these DJs first. So first we have to mention Persian, Cooley, Ewan, Jam MCs, Tomlin and Chris, Moses. Moses was Phil's son, and he only did a bit.
Yeah.
But there's another one, I can't remember his name, and they'd be like thinking, come on, Fons, fucking hell, how can you... Anyway,
Dennis.
So
did you say Dennis?
Dennis! Yeah. Dr. D, thank you, Linda. So, the atmosphere in the Reno, electric. That's probably where I got the name for my Vita vibe. The atmosphere in Reno was electric. And the vibe was unique. It weren't just the people and then the music, it was what the people generated as the vibe and the energy of the people. That's what made the Reno so unique. When I was a kid, before I went to the Reno at 12, my mum used to come home and she used to bring home 5 or 6 patties. So then, as we was kids, staying up late on a weekend night, we knew Mum would be home in a few hours, whether it was 2 or 3 o'clock, and she'd bring us patties home, so we'd look forward to waiting home for a pie before we go to bed.
Yeah.
So the Reno, not just the atmosphere, not just the vibe. After a while of me, I learned my apprentice in the Reno, and I'm glad to say, people say, oh, he's a fucking big head, or he's this, he's that. I'm not asked really, because it's part of my lifestyle and part of what I learned at the Reno, and I learned most things at the Reno that I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to be able to say to people, yeah, I was there at 12, and everything I've got to do for the future of my entertaining and everything I learned with the Reno. So I came to a stage then at the Reno where Phil, the boss, and Larty'd say to me, if you don't stop banging them bottles on them tables, we're going to buy you. Because before anybody even thought of, and in this, and I was saying and thinking, there's a lot of firsts, I must say to the audience, especially the Reno people remember, there's a lot of firsts in this interview. And one of them was, before make some noise and show some fucking appreciation, which is my lyric, I say, before that, it was just making noise because of the sound or the vibe of the music and the people. There needed to be some more attitude. So I started banging on the table with bottles. Got in big trouble. When the dance floor wasn't so busy, I'd go to the dance floor and just do a backflip. One or two of the times, I'd do my backflip before, in the Reno, years later, for some strange reason, they decided to put, you're going to smile when you hear this,
yeah, go on.
They decided to put, in the where the dance floor is, a fluorescent light.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck me. So anybody went in there with anything black on, it was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
So, next thing you know, I'm dancing in the Reno, I do a backflip, fuck me, my leg only catches the light. When I've done a backflip and it catches the light, I've landed near the table, near people, and I've just kind of fucking disguised them. So everybody's turned around. They hit this light, smash, and who did that? And then one or two people said, like, Alfonso Bullet did that. Oh, that is that. Come here. You always for the fucking light. Oh, please, like, Phil wants you. So we talk about memories in the Reno. Crazy.
Did you end up paying for the light? Or did you just beg?
No, because like, Phil was like family. When I was a kid, before I was even 10 or 8 or whatever, my dad used to do a lot of the gambling, shebeens, food.
Oh,
My dad would cook in the kitchens, and he'd done that. For instance, there was an incident before Phil that had been the main man at the Reno, which only the elders would know about. And my dad was with Phil and another geezer who was the boss or Phil's partner at the Reno. They were coming out one morning, and someone attacked Phil's partner who had the money. I don't know who it is. He had a little case with the money, the takings.
Right.
And he hit him on the head with something and dragged the money off him and then run off before my dad or Larry could do anything. And I think he actually died through that attack.
All right.
And I remember hearing this story when there was a kid. The elders would know what I'm on about here because he was rather Phil's partner, or he was the original owner with Phil at the Reno, and he got attacked leaving there one day, and that's just terrible.
Do you remember, nobody else remembers this, do you remember the last night you ever went in the Reno?
I was there on the closing night. Like when
was you?
I went to the closing night, but also what I must tell the viewers is, I went to the Reno when they demolished it, and you could actually go inside. It was because it was underground. The top part was demolished because all the western round the corner and the Nile that was next to it, and Shotty's Cafe, was flattened. But where the door was to the Reno, you could go down over the bricks and go down to the bottom and go in the Reno.
Wow.
That's why I'm not surprised someone said, oh, the DJ booth's still there. Yeah, because when they demolished it, they didn't flatten inside because it was flattened on the
top.
On the top,
yeah.
So when I went in the Reno, the day after they demolished that part, I'm not joking, because my mum's mother, my nana, on my mum's side are Romany gypsies. And sometimes, not just that they can read palms and do stuff like that, they have a second sense.
Yeah.
Being able to sense things and do things, not just gypsies, a lot of people do without that. So, fortunately for me, I'm one of them that have a second sense of things. I was drawn to the Reno this day. I went on my own. I went in the Reno on this day. I walked in the Reno, walked to the bar and stood in the Reno.
Wow, in a ghost one.
I felt the spirits of the people who had passed away in the Reno. And I didn't realise then that there's been a lot of people pass away in the Reno. Either they got murdered, killed, stabbed, or they've had a heart attack, or they passed away.
Oh,
and then they've gone off to the not a lot, maybe an handful.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean a lot. I mean a few. But I didn't realise that until the day I went to the Reno when it demolished. And I went in there and I stayed in there for about half an hour because it was, because it had such a big part of my life, and because, like I say, me, Willis and him were the youngest kids in there.
Yeah.
So, and what's strange and funny as well, Linda, when me and Willis got expelled from Wilbraham at 13, we was looking forward to going to Wilbraham Upper School. The lower school's at Cholton End.
Yeah.
Near where Balmore Road is. And the upper school is through Cholton Park, over by where the metro runs now.
Yeah.
You know where the metro runs along the off end. And fuck me, when we were going to Shebeens and Blueses and then going to school in the morning and falling asleep in class, when they told us that before we went to the upper school at 14, you got to go and have an interview with the upper school headmistress. She just called Mrs. Perry. And she said, you've got one chance. You took us both in the... And we looked at each other. We'd been out all night anyway this night. When we were 13, she started talking to us. We got to see you both. And we looked at each other, looked at him, just started laughing. She said, get out. She said, get out. We're not having you back at school now. I was going to give you a set. So we left. And then when we left another Thursday, they said to us, it took us in some office, said, like, you've got to tell your parents you're not going back to school, but you've got an option to go. In Moss Side, it was called a free school, the first free school. The first free school in the country came to Moss Side. From Moss Side, it went from there. Me and Willis went to it in Moss Side. We met Howard there, little Howard. From there, we went to Palmerston Street, Ancoats. They moved it from Moss Side to Palmerston Street, Ancoats. And when they told me that, I went, Palmerston Street, Ancoats? That's where my nana was from, Ancoats, my family. Not on Philma, Raymond and Nicola and Shannon, our little Vilma's side. On my mum's side, my nana.
Yeah.
She was, when my mum stopped living in caravans and whatever else with my nana, they got a house first in Ancoats.
Yeah.
So when me and Willis got expelled from Cholton, from Wilbraham, and we went to the free school in Moss Side, then they said to us from Moss Side, you're going up to Ancoats. I'm like, what? And I knew complex they're doing. So it was brilliant because they not only learnt us better to read, they kind of learnt us, we could drive by that time anyway, we were driving.
Yeah.
And then we just did outside pursuits and stuff. It was the best thing you could have ever done to us, was send us to a free school away from Wilbraham, because we could not take the hypocrisy and the bullshit, because we were out all hours of the night. So from Barnell Street Blues and Bonsall Street and all the blueses, we had a proper brilliant education. But going back to, like you're saying about your memories of the best memories, the good memories, it's really mad, Linda, because you have to mention the bad memories too. For instance, when Willis died, he asked me to go on tour with him, with his band from Manchester. There was a couple of American guys in it. And I don't know what I was doing, but I said, will it be an ongoing thing? He said, yeah. So I said, well, when you come home, I'll go another time with you, to be like his right-hand man or his mate.
Yeah.
Like, because he said, the management said, band members can have a girlfriend with them or a mate. He said, I'm choosing you. I said, I don't want to come, Willis, when you come home anyway. He fucking died. 2 American guys killed him, threw him off a first-story block of flats in Germany.
Which band is it?
It was a Manchester band, I can't remember, but I can't remember the name of the band. They were on. He was the bass player with them. It's like, so that was when
threw him off for what?
I don't know.
Okay.
They said in the paper that he was doing suicide, but no chance. So that was when I was 21. So that was one of my worst. I was at the bar and I got told someone's come up and spoke to me in my ear, and there was all these glasses outside of the, and they just got me arm and smashed the fucking glasses. And then Phil, what are you fucking doing? I just walked around, and then someone told Phil, because Willis, get on this, Willis was doing his tour. He died when he was 21. He'd be doing his touring, and then drive, come to my mum's, or he'd come somewhere with his fucking bass under his arm, or they'd meet us somewhere in a club or somewhere, and I'd say, oh, nice one, what you need? He said, we go to the Reno. I said, come on then. And he'd go to the Reno, and he'd put his fucking bass guitar behind the Reno bar, or with the DJs behind the DJ booth, because you couldn't go near that DJ booth. It was like sacrilege to even fucking stand there. But yeah, so flipping off the things that you're saying about the good things with the Reno. So one of these times in the Reno, me and Alan Ingham, we've been at Glastonbury, and me and Alan Ingham introduced a lot of people from Manchester to Glastonbury, because we started doing music and selling alcohol and a bit of this and a bit of that without saying specifics, juggling at Glastonbury. But we'd be backstage to all the management and all the stars. Simple. Not punters out doing this, doing that. Backstage, behind the pyramid stage, with the management of Glastonbury and the performers, and the performers is right-hand people. There's a couple of stories here, but I won't get that, but I'll just say to you that one of the stories is me and Alan Ingham, two of the stories. People say, why don't you write a book? We were on stage with the Wailers, who was something to do with Black Uru or something else, but it was the Wailers backing band. And they had someone else singing. We was on stage with them, then we ended up being in tour buses. Do you remember, Alan?
Of course I do.
Yeah, me and Alan Ingham. So, it's really funny, this. So, we're on stage with them, and they come on stage, we go onto the coach, and we're on the back of the coach, the tour coach, and there's about 3 of the Wailers, and one of them says, I do remember you as a little ute at Bingley Hall, because I got backstage at Bingley Hall, which was really weird. It was mind-blowing for me, Linda, because to be told by the Wailers, we remember you. I'll go back to Glastonbury, but I must tell you, when I was 16, 2 significant things happened from the Reno. My mum went to Australia when I was 16, and my dad knew that I wanted to go to Notting Hill Carnival with Willis, and he said, you can't go. And I never ever did that before, not do what I was told by my dad. And I went, but the worst thing about fucking Notting Hill Carnival is we got nicked in the first, well, not first, it was a few, but this was the most profiled one. We got nicked in the 1976 Notting Hill Carnival riots, and it was all down to the old bill. And then when we got nicked, they put us in a place called Stamford House in Shepherd's Bush, still open to this day. Stamford House in Shepherd's Bush is a naughty boys' home like Rose Hill in Manchester, and you've got a couple of similar things in Liverpool. So anyway, Wendy Nichols at the carnival, the photography people, I'm like, he's got his hand. Anyway, we were on the front page of the fucking Sun of the Evening News.
When your dad's told you not
and
to go.
You can only see my change, but you could see Willis's head. And I was like, oh no. Anyway, so anyway, the date we was remanded for about 7 weeks. The day we was going to court, and we were both dreads then, and like little yardies. And well, obviously me being from Jamaica, people didn't know. Being from Belize, people used to say I was from Jamaica and I was Jamaican. I'm going to say Belize and saying, where's that? No, I'd say I still do. Do you know Mexico? I was just next door to Mexico. So when we were going to court 7 weeks later, because they won't put me and Willis in the same part of this place in London, he'd only fucking run off from he got out with the handcuffs of the screw. They planned it, him and 3 other Cockney kids. So I'm in the van now waiting to go to court. My dad's come to London because my dad had to come to London to get us out. Where's Willis? He's run off with these kids. So
It's getting worse.
So in London, when we were there, John Holt was performing in this big, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, we got there, queued up to foot, and I'm not kidding, Linda. They may as well just open the doors either side of us and said, you two, come on in, come on. We looked down and I said, come on, Will, come on. We just walked in and no one said anything. It was like, we didn't get asked for the ticket now. We walked in, we stood on these tables. We were only 2 stood on these tables with a perfect view of John Holt. And then we got invited to, we had nowhere to stay for, it was unbelievable. And all of a sudden, these Ethiopian women, never forget it. It's a bit strange, really. These Ethiopian women said, where are you from? We're from Manchester. They said, where are you staying? We don't know. You're staying with us. They say, come. 4 Ethiopian women, I'm not kidding. And then when we were going out the next day to the carnival and all that, they'd written their address down on a piece of paper and give it us.
To go back.
To go back. And we went out. We were like, we're fucking in London at 16. Anyway. Wow. So, we're at Glastonbury. Black Ururu. The Wailers. Great. We're at Glastonbury, me and Alan Ingham sat our summer backstage, and all of a sudden, big tour bus comes up. Comes off the tour. The manager of Simply Red is a friend of mine. Can't remember what her name is now. And most of the band were friends of mine. Didn't really know Mick Hucknall, but I've seen him about. So, the day before now, we've been on stage with all sorts of stars, especially the Wailers. Saying hello to all, simply read and all that. How you doing, lads? No problem, because some of them from West is where I'm from. So all of a sudden, Mick up and all that, so hi Mick, alright, no problem. So he's managing now, I say to her, would it be alright for me and Ellen to stand at the side of the stage while the band's on? Because otherwise you've got to go around the front in the crowd and watch it from the crowd, which is really busy. Mm. So she said, oh, I don't know. That answer lies with Mick. Okay, that's Mick. I said, the band won't mind because I know the band and they sound. So she said, I don't think Mick wants you to stand at the side of the stage. I said, why not? I said, oh, I said, Mick! Mick! You know what I mean? So I said, it's only me and Alan. I said, sorry, keep them on. The view here is beautiful and like my mind gets drifted away within the trees and all that. Look at the camera to let people know. And so I say to Mick, rah, 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 stand at the stage. And he said, no. I said, oh, why? He says to me, and there's no fucking lie, I'm not joking, he says to me, if everybody wanted to stand at the side of the stage, there'd be nobody out front. Okay, mate. So me and Alan Ingham are sat on these seats backstage at Glastonbury, there's a bar behind us and its sun's beaming down on us. And Alan goes, are we going to go watch the band? And I'm like, fuck, I'm staying right fucking here. They can go and do the gig and I'll stay here. When they come off, I'll say, well done, lads. He said, all right then, draw, drink, stayed there. They went on stage. We could hear them jogging along to all the hits and all that. They come off, no problem. The moral of this story is, get on this. Pow. I'm in the Reno one night. I'm off my fucking head. So I'll go outside the Reno. And I used to stand in the doorway. Next to the Reno door, there's another doorway. I used to stand in the Reno watching the world go by. Before I moved to West Bank Road with my family, I was at my mum's. I used to walk from the Reno many times down Princess Road and walk home to West Disby. No problem, loved it. So I'm in Reno one night. I'm stood in the doorway off my head watching the world go by. About 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I see a car pull up about 50 yards away and salts out of the Jazz Defectors and there's something else. Salt's Mint Kid. At the time, Mick Hucknall was his mate and paying for him to go all around the world and fly with him. And Salt's is a beautiful lad. And his band, the Jazz Defectors, was Mint. So I need to take his top off and I'm getting all up and flustered. So
you've been naked by the time you've finished.
No, well, look, I've had to promise people, don't take your top off. I won't, don't worry. Because I've been told off for that all my life because I've stripped off like
Go on, so they get out of the car.
They get out of the car, and as they've got out of the car, I stood in my spot, and it's Salts with about 9 people. And I'm stood there like that, Salts walks up with all these people, big entourage. And he looks at me, it's all right, Fons, it's all right, Salts. He said, do you know Mick? He says to me, do you know Mick? I said, I've seen Mick about. He said, hello. I said, when's the last time you seen me? Just like that. Mm. And he's gone. I don't know. I said, are you sure you don't know? I said, I know. Have a good night. So I've let him go to the door to pay him. And I've walked past him, gone in the Reno, and I've gone and stood in our corner. Because as we were growing up, you know you can't go around the elders and stand in certain parts of the Reno. You couldn't do it. It's a thing called fucking respect. You could not do it. Simple. You had to reach that age. You had to reach that understanding of life or whatever before you can fucking even go and stand in the company of people. Oh, that's finished with today. Unless you've got the likes of me and elders of me introducing people to it and letting them know. So I go in the Reno, studying that. I go in the Reno, studying our corner, knowing I know what's happening. I got in the Reno like that and studying our corner like that in our corner, just studying the corner, waiting. Salts has come in the Reno with his friends, gone to the bar, and I watched. This is no fucking lie. Watched. From when Mick Hucknall got his drink at the bar, he shuffled. He didn't turn round and walk. He shuffled from the bar into the corner of the Reno where we're going. So if you're looking at the door, I'm talking about the right-hand corner. Yeah. That where Frank and fucking Chips and everybody else used to be. But in the other corner, that was like, for other people that knew they couldn't go in that corner or knew that corner's taken by the elders or the most popular people in the Reno. Yeah. So Mick Hucknall has shuffled his feet from the bar right near to this corner where these people are, and I've gone, Salts! He said, what? Come here, mate. I said, tell your fucking mate. What do you think I said to Salts?
I don't know. Tell
your fucking mate he ain't welcome in this corner. Now that might be fuck all to some people. It might be fuck all. What's he on about? What's he doing? The point of this story is, even though I know Mick Hucknall is a fantastic lyricist, a brilliant writer, and a fantastic performer, you cannot take that away from the kid. That's totally different than all of us and our people. Totally different. So if you haven't got the art and you haven't got the understanding, you can't play. You can't play being nice. You can't not get away from people sussing you're full of shit or you're not as warm-hearted as people think you are, no matter how brilliant your lyrics are. So when we talk about Ray Winston, totally different kettle of fish there, you see. He's a profile star. Totally different kettle of fish. Mick Hucknall, I respect him to the highest. And one day, for instance, we see Mick Hucknall somewhere, and I say to him, Ims, you know Mick, don't you? I said, yeah, hello Mick. Hello Mick, he's gone. Went away. Then he's pulled me in. Come here. He said, come here you. What then? Do me a favour. This is my brother, Emma. Years later, met him when I was 12 at the Reno door. He's pulled me and he says to me, my brother, do me a favour, what? Stop fucking introducing me to that twat. I've seen him for years, he's not interested, he's a fucking ignorant. So I said, all right, I just want us to acknowledge him. No, you acknowledge him. Don't ask me to say hello to him because I don't want to. So that's like me getting my hands clapped off my brother because he was fucking right. I'm talking about years ago he said that. Total years ago. So it's not just Mick and things like that. Loads of things happen like that in the Reno.
I want to go back to something important, what you was talking about a minute ago.
Go on, remind me.
Yeah, about where you could stand.
Amazing.
No, about working your way up the ladder. Tell me more about that.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
You're the first person, Fonzo, to talk about that, and I'm dead interested in
right,
that.
Okay, let me just go back to something else then, because when things started changing in Reno and for instance, the drugs started getting the influence of other people, really beautiful people that were flowering into this most beautiful person, when instead of going up and opening like a flower, they went down, 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 dark. That's what the drugs did to people. So, for instance, when the Cheetah Mill come in the Reno, I've just been told, having something to eat at Roy's at the Moss side of shopping precinct, that it was a fucking New Year's night. Well, I was in there with some friends and my brother Lanzo, and nothing like that had ever happened. And to think that there was Moss Side kids, Cheetah Mill kids, Longside kids, all together against Moss Side or Cheetah Mill families being against the certain families in Moss Side, which was just mind-blowing. But it was all the start of the change in our society, and it was already happening in America, whatever else. So, to have respect for your elders in the Reno is what we grew up with, like, say, Scal Steve said about you knew your place or you had to wait. You had to wait in line until you was old enough to step into that circle of being like an elder, even at a young age. And it started in our homes, really, the way we were brought up with our families. And then when we went to the streets or to the clubs or whatever else, for instance, when we went off to the likes of, say, a couple of clubs in town opened the doors to black people, because in our town, black culture was shunned in our city. And you had to, for instance, Brian Sadie worked at, I was thinking of Genevieve's then, but there was one in town in Piccadilly, and it was...
Was it the Piccadilly?
No.
Oh.
It was, I can't remember what it was called. It was the time of the Millionaire.
Yeah.
It was before Applejacks. But anyway, because of the likes of Brian Sadie and a couple of uncles, like the Quality Street influence who had black people attached to them, there was like opening the doors to certain places that you felt like, oh, we're a part of this.
Yeah.
Like Cloisters and Applejacks and Pips, the Millionaire, and a couple of other places, because it was in our city centre and we were dressed up going there, we felt kind of important. So then after there, then everybody, no matter who it was, management, bouncers, whoever else, everyone, if they wanted to, they'd go to the Reno. And then you knew you placed them, because they, like I said before about the people in the artist world, or the actors or the sports people, whatever else was there, getting high and pissed or whatever it was. For instance, remember Sandpipers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I only went in Sandpipers, but you remember Mulberry's?
Yeah.
Because Mulberry's was on top of where I live, West Didsbury, we got introduced to something like, wow. And then, because the Midland has jazz Sunday afternoons when I was a kid growing up, and then they had a Teddy Boy night on a Saturday. On a Friday they had a Teddy Boy night. On a Saturday it was jazz. Before we could get in there, we used to stand at the window and watch all the people in the Dickables and all the jazz performers. It was like looking at an American scene. So...
Who sat, in the Reno, who sat at the tables in the middle?
That's only the elders. It was without having it reserved. It's like if you go, where I live in Cornwall, and you go to certain parts of the beach, there's certain people who go to that certain part of the beach that people know. It's like if you've got reserved on the table.
Exactly.
Reserved. Well,
but the whole Reno had that.
They had tables.
The whole Reno had reservations.
And if you went and sat there, someone who would sit there, if they didn't say anything to you, which occasionally they would, they just go and stand there till you realise they're waiting for their table for you to get up. And when you get up, you sat there, you won't go back to that spot.
Yeah.
Because you was in their spot.
Yeah.
So it was.
But all those reservations had meaning though as well, didn't they? Like you say, like your rung on the ladder, you'd progressed so far.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what? I really wish I would have written some of the things down that I said I was going to write, because it's a lifetime of memories that you kind of... It's a fleeting moment in your head. And then if you don't catch it, or like for me, especially write it down, you forget it until someone mentions something like you. And you think, oh yeah, I meant to say that, or I meant to mention something like that. But you see, for me, I say to people, I had the best educational within the entertainment business, because I was quite fortunate to be athletic, especially with my backflips, and a bit of a lyricist. Lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I call myself now an MC, but I'm not. I'm a toaster. And when people say to me, about me crewing that, and they say, oh, what do you do? I say, I'm an MC, which I'm not. I'm a toaster. And then when you say a toaster, then some people say, oh, give us a bit then. Like, oh, go on, give us a bit. No, I'm not that kind of MC. I don't rhyme and I don't rap. I'm a toaster. I talk about the universe or beyond. I talk about peace and love, or I talk about Rastafari. And that's because of my upbringing, going especially to the shebeens and the blueses and seeing the influence of the toasters that could rhyme and rap. That was well before the hip hop came around and whatever else. Yeah, because people never say this, and all the documentaries, people don't say it. Jamaica introduced America to rhyming on the mic. Simple. It was called toasting to reggae music. And then when the Jamaicans or the Caribbeans went to America and they eventually come into the hip-hop kind of music, the hip-hop geezers were seeing the influence of the shebeens in America or wherever else and taking it to their own music. It was the Jamaicans and the Caribbean people that introduced. That's why the rappers within the MCing eventually got to within the rapping. It originates from the reggae toasters, or you know it now as the reggae MCs.
I remember that, yeah. You just used to get up and jump on it.
Well, okay then, right. Now I mention that, remember, Tony Wilson and Don Antoni have a big influence on this city. 24-hour people, which I'm a part of and I'm actually in, there's only a speck of the real shit that went on in our city before the rave scene. But Tony Wilson and a couple of others like Alan Erasmus where I'm from in West Didsbury, their office was in West Didsbury. But Tony Wilson, when he took over the Russell, and it's a little bit in the movie with Don and Tony, one of these days at the Russell, because of the influence of the up-and-coming toasters, Tony Wilson decided to let us have something at Russell. It was called like a open mic night. This is when I really got introduced to wanting to get the mic up and just chat my chat, because, like I say, I don't rhyme and I don't rap. And he got the DJ playing some music, and then he had about 7, 8, 9 mics on the stage, and certain people who could rhyme a bit or rap a bit or like me just chat. One of these nights, Tony Wilson said, right, it's your night, lads, go and do it. And we were all on the stage in the Russell, and it was like, oh, me, all down to Tony Wilson.
Yeah.
Absolutely
My
amazing.
brother was great at it in the house. He used to just do it for us, you know, really just jump on. Yeah. I forgot about that toasting.
Well, this is why I felt a need to write some stuff down. I didn't write anything down, and I brought these pictures.
Tell me some names. Tell me some Reno names.
Well, you know what's really, really, really strange? And I was thinking about this the other day. And then people saying, you can't mention that. Of course we can, because most of it's in the past now, but there is still a few people that suffer with hurt from what happened back in the Reno days and after the Reno days, especially with the Manchester War between the gangs, which was, unfortunately, that's the way it had to be. One of these memories I've got from the Reno, because he said to me one day, I'm not fucking giving a shit, I've gone on the fucking Reno, I don't give a fucking shit, who do you fucking get to? Not stopping me from going on the Reno. I'm like, all right, kid, calm down. Fucking hell. Gypsy Vinny Clayton from Partington, part of my Roman Gypsy family. He's at an auction one day near Bellevue or wherever it is, and our Victor, I think Victor Farrell was with Ian Oldra, because they're like brothers anyway in the name. And he's had verbals with our Vinny, and the Roma Gypsies, they want to fight. But when you fight with a Roma Gypsy, there's no revenge or come-ups. When you fight and you finish, you fucking shake hands. If you don't want to fucking shake hands, you say, see you later. There's no come-ups like today's Tinkers or other Gypsies, whether they're Romneys, whatever, wanting bandanas, or like my brother Johnny getting his fucking leg shot off. You know what I mean? Which is a totally another story. So, Vinnie Clayton and Victor Farrell, it's legendary in this town to people that know, either one-to-one on a car park in Piccadilly at the car auction. There was Bellevue. There was a car auction in Bellevue. Yeah. And that's legendary. Someone mentioned it in a Facebook thing the other month. Oh no, I've got a picture of me and Vinny at Moss Side Carnival. I didn't bring it. So anyway, like you say about names, so
name some characters.
Oh, I'm just thinking now. See, I should have wrote them down because all right, then here we go. I was at court one day before I'd gone to Cornwall. This is 5 years ago. I was at court one day, and I seen this geezer on my side. Had a bit like one of these as well. Extremely smart. Had a bit of a reputation for the wrong reasons, really, because he was gay. This guy. And I'm in court one day, and he was one of the most, you know his family, anyway, when you hear his name, you'll go, oh, why? So I'm in court one day, and this black geezer was there, and he was extremely immaculate dressed, and he was representing himself. I watched this geezer in awe at court, talking to the magistrates, and fucking assassin.
I knew you was going to say him. I knew you was going to say him.
So when you talk about
he's one of my favourite characters.
When you talk, in his Sue's family,
yes,
because Sue's attached to my children in Cornwall. Their dad's John the Bike, John Wardle,
right,
and the mum Sarah. Sue is attached to and Ange, God bless her spirit, and Erin.
Did he win his case?
Who?
Assassin.
I don't know. I've not got. Oh, he got adjourned. He got adjourned. So, like, your talk. Well, there used to be a kid attached to Salts and the Jazz Defectors. I'm sure he was called Gilly. I can't remember. And he started wearing all his own designer clothes, and he eventually went off to London. But, oh, the way he could dance, Linda, in that Reno. was just amazing. And he kind of wore his own designer clothes like rags, but
is it a black guy?
Yeah, black guy.
Lloyd.
It might have been called Lloyd.
Yeah.
He went off to London eventually.
Yeah, I think it's Lloyd. No, but he could really dance.
He was like,
like he was made of jelly or rubber.
For instance,
something.
I just shared a picture of Carl Brockback. Sorry, Carl. And Simon Douglas, our Dougie, and some other kid. It said Tenerife 87 or 99 or whatever it was. And I begged Carl one night. I said, Carl, do us a favour in the Reno. What? Do some of your body popping. He's like, no fucking chance, Fonzo. I'm not doing no body pop. Oh, please, Carl. It's like, and you see me, Carl. I entertain people purposely. Please, go on. Oh, he got up doing all that. The fucking Reno was like, go on, lad. Because he was like, like you say,
Lloyd's a bit like contemporary dance, kind of
yes,
like, yeah.
Yes. So you say about name some names, right? So there's a geezer now, a mad Manchester United, mad Manchester United fan called Bino. He's on for I think his fifth book. So one night I've gone in the Reno I've been at a party somewhere on my own and I've come to the Reno and I walked straight into the toilet. What's the toilet? Fucking Beaner's. Someone got Bean up against his throat with a broken glass to his neck. And I've looked around and there's 4 people. One who's got Beaner. One who just mentioned, and I'm not going to say no names because it's quite comical. And he's gone, Fonzo, please tell him I'm all right. And I'm like family with everyone here. And I said, please put him down. He's with us. Put him down. So all of a sudden this kid who's got him to me and says, we're fucking sick of all these white guys coming in here. And this geezer's got a white missus or whatever, and the geezer next to him is mixed race. His mum's white. And I looked at him and said, what? And then at this time then, he was a strong influence from Liverpool and America with Black Power.
Oh, yeah.
But they were taking it out of context.
Right.
The Black Power bit.
Yeah.
And it did mainly come from Cheetah Mill. Right. Without saying too much. And so I said, no, you can't eat up your foot. And this geezer said to me, no, these fucking white guys do. The more they're talking about some of our mates. Because they were thieves and fucking smart and, you know what I mean, tyrannies and fucking wanted to come and spend the money in the Reno and fucking have a good time. And they were like, fucking twats after. So they've let go in and all that, we're talking in the town. I said, all right, Pete, all right, you're all right, Dean, I know, you're all right. They're not going to rob you. They're not going to tell you you can't come in the Reno no more. All of a sudden he's gone in his pocket with a matchbox. He's opened his matchbox. He said, look, Fonz, I'm fucking tripping out, man. I went, oh no.
Oh, no.
He opened his matchbox and it was full of fucking acid tabs. And to think that he's gone through that, tripping.
Oh, no.
Oh my, and he reminds me every now and again, I'd say, because I want to do a book and he's going to help me do.
Yeah.
And mainly about MVito.
Yeah.
Manchester vibes in the area. So, like you say, names, wow. All right, then. When I was a kid growing up in West Didsbury, we moved from Cheltenham Medlock at 8 to West Didsbury. There was only one. Do you mind if I just say it? Because there's someone phoning me, Lynn. I don't fucking... So Bean has done a couple of books and that, and hopefully I will be eventually doing my own book, because there's that many stories and that many people to interview like yourself. You probably take about 2 years for me to do a book.
Yeah, easily.
So
more characters. Tell me some more characters.
Oh God, fuck me. Oh yeah, so earlier on when I mentioned when we had a really brilliant influence of Liverpudlians come to Manchester. Clarky Martin was just, he came like an angel to us because everybody loved him and he was so cool and he was a character of our city and he was a scouser. And then when Lecky Benjamin come along, oh my God, did you ever meet Lecky?
No.
Oh,
I can't play.
Oh, apart from he started smoking, and I mean, the pebble, the stone, he just went downhill. So, characters, fuck me, there were some characters in that Reno. Yeah, right. So, at home in West Didsbury, as we started coming to the Reno, every now and again, we'd sit at our house and we'd be like that, in the kitchen, in the living room. Albert Thorne, Roy Thorne and Marcel King used to come to our house singing for us in general as a family or whatever else, or saying that they were going to say, oh, we're going to try out this record. Marcel more so with Lanza, because Marcel and Lanza were best mates.
Right.
And Steve Cottier and Mike Nazy and a couple more, they were fucking proper best mates. So you talk about characters, especially in the Reno, there was no bigger characters really than the Pimps. I'm not joking.
No.
They were, and some of them, like for instance, when we eventually went to court when I was 17 and we got found guilty in the Crown Court, I was wounded because we hadn't done it. And on the prison bus, this black guy from my side, I think he was called Barrington. Was it Barrington? Brilliant fucking immaculately dressed guy. I think someone said to me the other week that he lives in Bolton but anyway, the point of it is, the story is we'd just been found guilty for something we didn't do at Manchester Crown Courts. Lanza got a year in prison, whatever it was. You think he was 21 at the time. Junior got detention centre for some reason, I don't know why. Dennis Marr and himself got sent to Borstal. 6 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
So when I was on the coach now from Strangeways, going from the courts going to Strangeways, I meet Barrington all dressed up in the suit, and I'm fucking up what talks and all, and he says, "All right, well, no, not really. What wrong with you?" I said, "I've just been found guilty of something I didn't do. They beat us up, they sent us to prison, and I've got to go to Borstal." They don't worry. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "It's my case today. The jury's out at this, and I've got to come back tomorrow for sentencing." I said, "What for?" He said, "Murder."
Wow.
I said, "Murder?" I said, "Who the fuck have you murdered, man?" He had a blade, I had a blade. I'm here to tell the story, he's not.
Wow.
And that's as simple as it was. If you grew up in our city back in the day and you pulled out a fucking blade, you'd like to say, don't pull out a blade unless you're going to fucking use it. Best off, don't carry a blade. I used to carry a little penknife all the time. And anybody that I argued with, I'd just say, I probably would have done, but I didn't want to. I'd say, well, I'll stab you up the arse, you twat. Anyway. About a week later, I'm in court, and I think, Barrington, I've said to someone that was visiting, said, do you know Barrington got on? He got found not guilty. I asked him, how do you think it's going to go on? He said, nah, man, I think they're going to find me guilty, send me to prison for the rest of my life. He got found not guilty, self-defence.
Wow.
And Barrington was a character, immaculately dressed, a gentleman, perfect fucking, I don't know who he fought with or who he took, whose life he took, but they both had knives.
Mm.
And for instance, when there was another incident, two characters, I can't remember who they were, but I know the story that comes behind it. Two characters had a go at each other in the Reno with knives and hurt each other. And they went to Withington Hospital. One first in an ambulance, whatever else. And then the other one in an ambulance. And each side of their family and friends were in the waiting in Withington Hospital. And next thing we hear is he's all kicked up in the waiting room at the hospital while they're both half dying fucking. The families of different makes a difference.
I can just picture it, in
the hospital, you know.
For it, yeah.
Oh my God.
It.
Right, for instance. Oh God.
Tell me some Ponces then, some Ponces man with the good outfits.
What was the Fawns? One of the Fawns' daughters was married to a black geezer who was small, because one of the Fawns' daughters, one of the Fawns' sisters, she died through, I remember as a kid, I think something to do with a car.
A car accident.
Yeah,
Bonnie.
but was it Bonnie that? And her fella, who was a black guy, one of his brothers, I'm going to turn that down a minute. It's all right, then I'm not going to stop. I'll leave it because. So one of his brothers.
They're going to work, but I'll take some minutes.
Bigger characters, like you say, than Frank Pereira.
True.
Because when I was growing up, and I heard Frank Pereira had the Rolls Royce. Like, wow. But saying that, like Stan Finney, the African elders who were like Frank or Stan passed a lot down to us because they were extremely smart and extremely respectful and always had a few quid. So everybody looked up to them, despite how they made the few quid. But there's just quite a bit that I've not remembered, because I did mean leaning up to it to write a few things down. So when I looked at my I couldn't, don't forget to mention that, don't forget to mention that.
Well, let's just
but like
go
I said,
with the flow.
Did
nobody cared how you made your money in the Reno, did they?
No.
None of us cared about how anybody made their money.
Earlier on when I said, and I'm not joking, the Reno was like a magnet. And it's not just that the Reno was a magnet. What I must say to people as well is, and there might be clubs or places today like this, people were not just the thought that the Reno was in Moss Side, the fact that the Reno was the Reno and everything that come, the persona of the Reno, what people have heard about, it was scary to some people. People have told me, I wouldn't went in the Reno Ponds unless you took me. Or the first time I went like Glastonbury, the first time I went to Glastonbury was you. The first time I ever went in the Reno was with you. But after a while, I was taking people in there. People was intimidated just by the name of the Reno, what came with it. It was a scary place for some people. Not for us. Yeah. Because it was like home.
Yeah.
So home can't be scary, can it?
No, well, it can for some people. But yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. What made the difference then? Do you think our colour had out to do with it?
Most definitely, because we was mixed race. You see, when I started growing my locks when I was 12 and a half, 13, I used to come from Wilburn, wherever, West Disby, whether I didn't go to school, not 12 and a half, 13. And I'd go from our end to Moss Side to junior school. I'd walk in junior school and say to the teachers, my brother's got to come home because he knows where the keys are. It was a black, I was lying. I'd go into junior school because Junior was from Moss Side and then he moved to Withington. So Junior would come out of school with me and we'd be, with the way we dressed and everything else to do with, Junior was a bit like a skinheady type then. I was dressing like that when I was between 9 and 11 with Kevin Sadie and Colin Sadie. They were the smartest, because they were twins. It was like, look at these foot, look at, and they was kickers and you know what I mean? All the old school skinheads kind of style, Fred Perry's and Addingtons and Monkey Boots or Doc Martens or whatever. So it was not just that the Reno was, this is why I can't believe, Linda, I'm so glad that you come like an angel to give the Reno a spokes, to shine a light on the Reno, to give the Reno people a spokesperson.
Well, it's for them to speak for themselves, isn't it? Because everybody's so much a character, you couldn't speak for them. Everyone's so different.
The Reno had that many characters that stood out. That's why, even if I forgot to mention whether it's some of my family, whether it's some of the characters, whether it's some of the things that's happened, you're capturing some of it, the essence of it, that people need to know, wow. I've actually got a picture, I don't know where it is, I'm meant to bring it or find it, of me and a couple of other people at the Reno booth, and you know just by the I'll find it when I'm at home and I'll get it to you, in the Reno, at the Reno box, at the DJ box, and it's like, wow, I'm thinking, that's the fucking Reno.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Edwin Brown's on it, Tony Brown's
You have to get that picture to me.
So just to recap, Lynn, I'm really privileged and pleased that you invited me to do a little bit of this, simply because there is certain things that people need to realise and need to know, that so much has took place in our lives and so much has happened that we need to share these stories, because in different parts of the world, whether it's Africa, India, Thailand, where people couldn't read and write, whatever, the way they pass stories to generations.
Oh, beautifully said.
Just by that.
No, it's true, our oral tradition.
Don't get me going. I'm not trying to mention my mum much because I didn't want to get upset and stuff, because when you grow up in an environment like mixed race, you've got your white family side and your black family side. Well, my mum came from Romany Gypsies and Red Indians, and my dad came from Belize, which used to be called British Honduras.
Oh,
they got their independence, and everything the British did or said, my dad thought was fucking great, or not was great. So that's the way he's been brought up to him. I mean, like,
yeah, my dad was Jamaican. It's a similar story.
So when I started growing my locks at 13 or whatever else it was, I had it off black guys in Moss Side or around the country, whatever else it was. I had it off white people I knew didn't understand me, and then I had it off the half-caste family, and I'm like, why do you want to be like a Jamaican? Or, I feel I need to grow locks and be me and be my own character. That's why I ask people not to call me Bob Marley no more, call me Twin Marley. Simple. I wanted my own character. But it was, our upbringing was extremely difficult at times, if you had any... You see, we didn't suffer for racism in Manchester like a lot of people mention. And I don't know why that was. We didn't. Mainly because when we got brought up with us, if we got told about anybody being racist, you know, smash him in the mouth, give him one in the fucking lips, whether it's at school or on the streets, because then they won't do it again. If you're around them again, for instance, when me and Junior started going knocking around with Dennis's family, Pooley, a couple of the people, Fatneck's firm in Tommy Dunn, because I was in Borset Arena when I met Tommy Dunn and Phil Redmond and a few other people from Northside. When me and Junior was in company one afternoon, it was, I don't think it was 25, and we're in company and all of a sudden we hear someone out the corner, me and Junior's head went on, and what was that? And it was grave digger, and they were using slang for certain things. Okay. So we stopped him after and said, whoa, what was that? He said, what the fuck, what you fucking that mean? And nah, we don't mean you, Fonz, or you, Junior. Yous are all right. I said, no, that's us. We're black. No, they obviously used that word in when we weren't there, but in front of us, because we told them, they'd shy off it. But there you go about people using language like that. And don't get me wrong, there's not just white people who've been brought up with black people who think they can use language like that and it's acceptable. We have to tell our own people, please don't use the word packy. It's fucking disrespectful. I've got Asian family, Indians, and Muslims. Salam alaikum, brother. Sasidikal ji, brother, sister. Namaste. All these languages, and we've got family. So, like you say, Linda, and it is.
Going back to oral tradition, you started with your mum. Why did you start with your mum and oral tradition?
She's my queen. She's my everything.
But is that their tradition as well, Romanese?
Yes. My mother comes from royal Romany gypsies, and my granny was royal gypsies in this city. And my mother and her sister, my Aunt Dinah, married. My Aunt Dinah married Dids Marshall, and my mother married John Marshall, and they were Scottish. And when they split up, my mum, we had our Johnny and our Laverne, and then when my dad met my mum, he had our Vilma and our Raymond and our Vanda, but she's a Martinez, but to me she's my sister. And then my Aunt Phyllis, Vilma and Raymond's mum, and our Shan and our Bobby, who were my sisters. I classed them as my sisters. No, I don't use the word half and all that. So yeah, the reason I mentioned my mum is because when I was a kid growing up, most people said, oh, he's like our Johnny, potty in. When our Johnny passed, it was like, it's just like our Johnny, he's fucking stupid, he puts his foot in it, don't think until it's... But my mum, I have all my influences off my mum. I have a lot of influences off my dad, but it was more than that. Actually, work off.